Hi folks, I'm Matt and welcome to My Expanded Universe, a show where I go through the entire EU in chronological order as best I know how. Meet our newest Ewok member, Pocket. He's so small he fits in your pocket. How did he come to be? Don't ask. Alright, so while I'm ticking people off about my reviews on the Clone Wars, let me go ahead and give you another review from Karen Miller. We're not going to do just one book today. Oh no, we're going to do two. The books are called Stealth and Gambit. Now in these, Obi-Wan and Anakin go to Lantebe to stop an evil Neimoidian general from using a toxic mineral found on a planet to use as a weapon against the Republic. Ooh, what will happen? These came out, I almost want to say at the same time. There may have been a very short, brief moment in between the two, but I think they came out at the same time. Because I remember reading them pretty quick. Now, I was super excited when these came out. Remember, Karen Miller I'd liked before for her other book, Wild Space. Can you believe I actually had to take a moment and look at my bookshelf to figure out what the name of that stupid book was? But anyway, I did like Wild Space, so I was really, excited about Stealth and Gambit, and they looked like they were older adult books. Now, these books had an odd shape to them. They're paperbacks, but they don't look like a paperback book. They're a little bit stretched or something. I don't know. And so they felt a little weird. Now, that didn't bother me because any book with Expanded Universe stuff, I wanted to read about. But as I was reading, I found out we had the same drawn-out, tired old story of where Obi-Wan and Anakin are trying to stop, this separatist general from discovering this mineral that's toxic, that can destroy the Republic. That there was nothing in this book, or both books, that screamed originality. In fact, for the first time ever, I'm going to say that these books were an absolute cash grab on the Clone Wars craze that was going on at the time. And in this, Obi-Wan falls in love again, and it's kind of a tired out story. We saw it in Jedi Apprentice, which I think was done very well in that one. It was done another time in the Clone Wars, which is okay, and it's done here. And it just, by this time, it had been just a tired out plot for Obi-Wan. Now, I get that Obi-Wan can fall in love, or have those feelings, because that gives us perspective on why he allows Anakin and Padme to go on in secret. Because remember, in Episode 3, he says he knew. He knew. He suspected the whole time. But he let it go because, A, he made a promise to Qui-Gon, he loved Anakin, and he knows how he felt because he's felt that way a couple of times. So that makes sense. But this book, Obi-Wan's love connections had already been established. You didn't need to do another one. I felt that was a waste. If this happened, after the events of Season 2 of the Clone Wars, which is when it came out, in the books it says Obi-Wan was not on the Jedi Council. However, in Season 2 of Filoni's Clone Wars, we do see him on the Council. And they're going, well, what is he? Is he not on the Council or is he not? And people got so upset about that, if it was. Well, that was the whole timeline error that I told you was already corrected by, I brought it with me today, Force and Destiny, the source book. I keep saying this. Someone asked if I would read the actual passage. If you have it, it's right here, talking about colonial trouble. He says, given if you're interested, I'd be careful if you're poking around the colonies. This is some guy exploring the colonies. Pro-imperial sentiment plus jealousy of the core worlds means that some planets enforce imperial law more rapidly than on Coruscant. For example, and this is the paragraph here, he said, I intercepted a mandate from officials on Cardia, which is the Imperial Academy, ordering that all their records and military academics pertaining to the history of the Clone Wars undergo review for intellectual purity by a dozen Compnor agents. Now, he says, while I can only guess what that intellectual purity by Compnor wants to enforce, it's got me wondering if some of the information about the events in the Clone Wars, if they were worried someone might read it. And to me, I was like, that reads like they're retconning everything from Clone Wars really quickly. Because remember, Clone Wars is a bunch of newsreels by the Republic, who is actually the Empire. And so if this book is right, then they tampered with it all, and those stories are leaving out things or making up things or changing facts, like the time, like any contradictions from that TV show. Now, I had to check and see if I was sure in this interpretation. I asked a few friends, they agreed with me. This Gen Con, surprise time here, I went and talked to Fantasy Flight. And I told them about the book, the role-playing book. I told them about my interpretation of it, and they said that that was a very good interpretation to have. Of course, they're dealing in the new canon. They said that they are dealing now in both expanded universe and the new canon now in their new stuff. This was the last book, the book that defined, hey, this is the EU, but we're going into canon soon, you know, because the movie was about to come out. And they're kind of sitting on, he said they're in they're in the secondary canon, you know, anything that applies to the movies, you know, characters and ships, that's canon. Anything within the EU that they pull out of, that is Legends. And they said they love the expanded universe. They were big fans about the expanded universe. They read everything about it. He said he was bothered by the Clone. He didn't even like the Clone Wars, he said personally, because he was bothered by the inconsistencies. But that was put in there as a little, you know, hey, you know, like I said, it was one last parting gift before they left Legends continuity completely. And I really love that. I'm glad I got the interpretation right. So if we read that, we know that Comp Noir messed with Dave Filoni's Clone Wars, and hence, that wipes out a huge majority of contradictions. So I'm really thankful for that. So this whole, well, was he a Jedi Knight was he a Jedi Master on the Council, or wasn't he back in these books? It's you know, hey, he was. Go with the books. Oh, I'm sorry, he wasn't. Go with the books because things were altered. Now, why would Comp Noir alter something like that? Who knows? Just like the guy said, who knows? It may be, you know, Emperor Palpatine. I don't know. Anyway, I think that's interesting. It works for me as a retcon. It puts me to sleep at night. So if you want to see it for yourself, you can get the book and look through it. It had something else in there. It talks about the Clone Wars and how some of that stuff may not be legitimate history. And they both meant, they meant the Clone Wars timeline is what they meant on that. So anyway, again, going back to Stealth and Gambit, what do I think? These books are a waste of time. I do not think they're very good, and they are number 7 on my worst books ever. Now, I know lately I feel like the Scooby-Doo villain. I've been like revealing the mask, and everyone's going, whoa, he hates this book, he hates this book, he hates this book. But I think I'm not alone on Stealth and Gambit. I'm gonna take a gambit and say that I'm not. I don't think many people like this. I don't hear anyone ever talking about it when they talk about good EU books. It's never made on anyone's list. But as worst books go, it's my number 7. So you actually have right now 2, 3, 4, 7, and 9 of all my worst books. Will there be more? Of course there will. But you'll have to wait and see, folks. I will see you next time with another video.